If you have a knee injury and you're not sure how to exercise, then I'll show you exactly what to do in this video. Hey there, Coach Tyler here, and today I'm going to show you how to exercise with a knee injury. And this is a big deal because knee injuries are one of the most common and annoying injuries you can have. And often, when people injure their knees, they basically quit exercising altogether. However, that is the worst thing that you can do when you have a knee injury. Instead, what you need to know is how the knee works, the best way to ensure you're not putting too much pressure on this fragile joint, and the best exercise to use for people with knee injuries. And that is exactly what I'm gonna show you in this video. So, here's how this is gonna work. I broke this video down into 3 steps. The first step is going to tell you how the knee joint works and give you my #1 tip for making sure you don't cause further damage to your knee. Now, this one tip will change your life. And I know this because I've injured both of my knees, and I've actually had to undergo 4 different knee surgeries in order to get to where I am today. And throughout that process, this one tip that I'm gonna share with you in step #1 has made the biggest difference on making sure I don't hurt my knee again. Next, in step 2, I'm gonna talk about your feet and how the way you distribute your weight across your foot makes a significant difference in the pressure you create on your knee joint. This is another thing that I learned in my own journey towards rehabbing my knees that made a huge difference. Finally, in step 3, I'll share with you my favorite exercise for people just like you who've had a knee injury. This is an amazing lower body exercise that is low impact and that will actually strengthen the muscles of your hips and legs to help create more stability and reduce your chances of getting injured again. And beyond that, I'll show you 4 different variations of this amazing exercise, starting with a pre-beginner exercise and working towards more of an advanced variation to make sure you know exactly what exercise you should be practicing to heal your knees and get back to your life once and for all. So, does that all sound good? If so, let's get started with step #1. Step #1, how the knee works and the #1 tip to avoid injury. Okay, right now I want to share how the knee works and also give you my #1 tip to remember when you're exercising to avoid knee pain or avoid injuring your knees, okay? Now, most people, when they squat, they don't look down at the direction their knees are going, and this is a huge mistake. The #1 mistake people make is that when they squat, their knees cave in like this. And if I look down at my toes and I look down at this bone right here called the femur is pointing, or my thigh bone is pointing a different direction than my toes. Now this right here puts a lot of pressure on both the inside and outside of your knee and could actually be the cause of knee pain in the first place. So how do you correct this? Well, when you're doing exercises like squats, and even when you're walking, try to take a moment to look down at your knees and make sure that everything you're doing is the knees going the same direction as your toes. So if I sit down and I look over this thigh and I imagine that bone keeps extending out this way, it's gonna go right over the middle of my foot right there. If you find yourself as you stand up where your knees are wobbling in like that, then you want to push them out as you go up and down. And if you need to, you can even ask somebody to push inward against them and you push outward against that force. And that's gonna help strengthen the muscles on the outside of the hip that are responsible for rotating the leg outward and stabilizing the knee joint. So remember this, the knee is a hinge joint. It hinges back and forth. It does not go side to side, and it does not twist. And the second piece to remember is always make sure your knee is going the same direction as your toes. Real quick, before we go to step #2, where I'll share how your foot holds the key to making sure your knee is safe and protected, I wanted to ask you for just a quick favor. If you're enjoying this content and you want to see more videos just like this, then take a second right now and click the subscribe button and then click the little bell icon. And when you do this, you'll get an update every time we release a new video just like this. It helps us get noticed more, and our videos will help you transform your body faster. Okay, let's head back to the video and talk about your foot. Step #2, focus on your weight distribution. If you've had aches and pains in your knees or injured your knees, then how you stand on your foot makes a big impact on how your knee feels. Here's what I mean by that. If I put the weight on my toes, where I'm really leaning forward on my toes, and then I go to do something like a squat like this, I'm forcing my quad muscles to activate. When I do this, it pulls the tendons of the kneecap together, and it can really create a lot of pressure inside your knee joint. So when you're running or cycling or squatting or anything like that, a lot of people with knee pain have a tendency to put the weight on their toes. My recommendation is always to put 30% of the weight on the ball of your feet and 70% of the weight on your heel, and make sure these 3 points, your big toe, your pinky toe, and your heel, are all in contact with the ground at the same time. When you do this, your squats will go from looking like this, where you're up on your toes and you're creating a lot of pressure in the knee joint, to looking like this, where you push your butt back, the weight's mainly in the heels, and eventually it's gonna almost feel like your knee pain is disappearing because you're activating other muscles like your hamstrings and your glutes. So give that a shot. Be mindful of putting more weight in your heels and less weight in your toes, and it's gonna make your knees feel significantly better. Hey, before we get to step number 3, where I'm gonna share with you my favorite exercise for people with knee injuries, I wanted to mention that if you like how we describe and show you how your body works in a way that is pain-free, and if you like the detail that we give to make sure you're not just exercising, but actually moving your body correctly, then you'll love the workouts that we send to our members at warriormade.com. That's because our workouts are like having a personal trainer built into your phone, tablet, or desktop computer. Every exercise in our workouts is customized to your individual skill level. And we break down every exercise using our visual teaching system to make sure you're doing each exercise with good form. What that means is you can get faster results and in a way that's much safer too. So, if you want to give our follow along home workout system that is great for people with injuries a try, just click the link below either now or after you finish this video, and you can try it for free on me. Okay, let's jump into step number 3, where I'll show you my favorite exercise for people with knee pain and give you 4 different variations to choose from. Step number 3, use the best exercises. My favorite exercise for people with knee injuries or knee pain is called the drinking bird. So, I'm gonna teach you how to do it with perfect form and show you 4 different variations, starting at pre-beginner, and then beginner, and then intermediate, and advanced, so you can choose which variation you want to practice. The best way to use this is you can try it every single day at minimum 3 days a week, and you could do about 10 repetitions for around 3 sets. Practice the movement and really think about your form, because that's what's most important here. So here's how to do the drinking bird with perfect form. To start, put your hands on your hips, bring your feet right underneath your hips with your toes facing straight forward. Put your weight primarily on your heels, about 90% on your heels, and start by pushing your butt backwards, almost like you're trying to bump someone with your butt. So push your butt backwards, weights on the heels, come down with a nice tall spine, don't round your back. You're not trying to touch your toes, you're just trying to hinge at the hips. Hinge as far as you can forward until you feel a little bit of tightness and tension in your hamstrings, and then try to squeeze your glutes, so squeeze them to come back up. Now, an easy way to think about squeezing your glutes when you're down here is try to think about turning your knees outward. Don't let your knees come in. Try to think about turning your knees outward, and you'll feel these muscles inside your hips and inside your glutes activating when you do that. Now, only go as far as you can without rounding your back. If you start rounding your back, then you've gone too far. Take your time and go slow. Inhale as you go down, exhale as you come up, and you can repeat for about 10 repetitions, and again, doing about 3 sets. Now, if this is too easy for you, you can make it a little bit harder by putting your hands on the back of your head. When you do this, it'll put more pressure on your hamstrings, glutes, and all the muscles of the backside of your body and make it a little bit more difficult. This is what it looks like. You're gonna bring your feet, again, right underneath your hips, toes facing straight forward, hands on the back of the head. You're gonna hinge the hips by pushing your butt back and keeping the weight on your heels, inhaling as you go down, and when you feel a little bit of tension in your hamstrings, squeeze those glutes, and bring yourself to the top position. Practice this movement, really thinking about good form, because if you do it right, it's gonna strengthen these muscles here, which is gonna relieve the pressure off your knee joint. Now, if that still feels too easy, the next variation is where we really start to make the muscles smarter, so that way you can avoid knee pain. This is called the one-leg drinking bird. Now, for the one-legged drinking bird, just like it sounds, you're gonna stand on one leg. So start by finding your balance, standing on one leg, and again, looking down, making sure that knee is not caving in and that it's not rotating out too far. It's okay if it turns out a little bit because you're on one foot, so your center of gravity has shifted over. So look down, make sure that knee's just to the outside of that foot, pointing that way. This time, find your balance. If you need to, you can use some things around you for that balance. Hinge the hips, real slow, weight still on the heels. Come down with that flat back, inhale here, and then exhale and try to use that glute muscle to stand all the way to the top position. And if you don't need to put your foot down, don't, because the longer you stand on that one foot, the more you're gonna feel those muscles start to burn and the better results you're going to get. Again, do about 10 reps on this side, followed by 10 reps on this side, and repeat about 3 times. And finally, if that still feels too easy for you, try the advanced variation, which is one-leg drinking birds with your hands on the back of your head. This is actually extremely difficult, even if you're strong, flexible, and have good coordination. So, put your foot underneath your body like this. Make sure your knees slightly outside of the foot, still going straight forward like that. Hands go on the back of the head this time. Find your balance. Inhale as you go down. Keep that back flat. Weights on your heels. Go slow and control. There's no rush here. When you feel that hamstring get tight, squeeze the glutes and come back to that top position. Finish strong and repeat for reps. Now, when you're on that one leg, one final tip for you, try not to let your hips open up like this as you go down or close too far like this. You want to make sure that your body is exactly like it would be on 2 legs, only this time on 1 leg. So, go slow and controlled, choose a variation, practice it at least 3 days a week, and you'll be happy you did, and your knees will be even happier. Okay, there you have it. 3 steps that you can use to exercise with a knee injury. Try to make sure you remember steps number 1 and 2 whenever you're exercising, and really even when you're moving around in your daily life. If you can focus on making sure your knee goes the same direction as your toes and change the way that you distribute your weight on your foot to take the pressure off of your knee joint, it will make a huge, huge difference on how your knee feels on a daily basis. From there, practice the exercises that I showed you in step number 3 at least 3 days a week. And over time, you can go from the pre-beginner variation that I showed you all the way to the beginner, intermediate, and finally advanced variations. Just remember to move slow and stop if you feel any pain. Also, if you're still experiencing knee pain, I want a simple follow-along workout that you can do from your home using just a chair. Then, click the link right here. Inside this video, I'll show you a simple 11-minute workout that you can do from home using just a chair. And this is a great routine for people who are just starting out, or for people who are older and need to start building strength, or finally, for people like you who have injuries. So, give it a shot, and I really hope you enjoy it. Otherwise, I really hope you enjoyed this video and come back to our channel over and over again. This way, you can check out all of the new videos that we post every single week. I'll see you soon.